The views and opinions expressed by contributors on the Spoon River Gothic podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the host. Material heard on the Spoon River Gothic podcast is intended for adult listeners. This podcast deals with mature topics that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. This is Spoon River Gothic, narrative of a double homicide.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
What made of the emergency?
Hello. Hi, I was hoping to speak to Miss Heidi Hunter.
This is Heidi.
Hi, Heidi. My name is Jinra. I'm conducting research for a victim's justice report regarding Donna Tompkins and her case. And I was hoping to know if you were available to chat or if I could get you at another time.
What? This has been many years ago. I'm sorry. This has been many years ago. So, why are you contacting me now?
I'm gathering research for an upcoming podcast about her case, and the podcast intends to just give everyone involved a voice.
I'm sorry. What are you expecting me to do?
I just had a few questions, but I'm happy to give you a call back at another time if that's okay.
It's not going to be better then or now.
I'm sorry?
Are you just thinking about it just tears me apart.
And I knew the majority of the members there at the time.
Oh, okay.
I was under the impression the only contact he had with her was through the bank, not through the Elks Club.
Yeah, no, they worked together. I do know that.
Yeah.
But I believe he was a suspect at a point.
He was.
Do you remember finding out about it? Like what that was like?
Finding out about her?
Yeah, about the fire.
Well, I was living in a different town at the time, and I think somebody called me to tell me about it. And I just couldn't believe it. It was just horrific news.
Yeah, and in the beginning they thought it was just a fire, right?
Right. And then they found the bodies and that the little girl had been bound by rope, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was in the same room as Donna, like placed on the couch across from where Donna was. So she witnessed whatever happened, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was really sick during that time. I was not able to make it to any services or anything like that, so.
And then do you remember how, like, the investigation, and did they talk to you? I think they might have talked to you. That's probably where I found you.
Well, they did subpoena me. Yeah, and I did have somebody talk to me, and they were asking about Mr. Haynes, and I'm like, yeah. But I don't think he would do anything like that. Referring to Terry, not knowing that they were talking about Dave. So, and I said, but I guess that's possible because he just recently beat the shit out of his ex-wife. So.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah,
it seems like there was a lot of, Donna was surrounded by a lot of men who were possessive and angry and violent.
Her ex-husband, I thought it was her ex-husband at the time, because she had told me that he was scaring her, he was following her and showing up at her house unannounced, stuff like that. So I was convinced it was her ex at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard that Donna was a really lovely person. Like
she was.
Very charismatic personality.
She did. And that's kind of why I'm not surprised that there was all kinds of men in her life and possessive men, because she was a very beautiful woman with an outgoing personality. So, and I could see how men were attracted to her and wanted to spend time with her. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that justice was served with Donald Bull being...
I don't even know how that got connected up that way. Really, I don't. I was just like, who is he and how in the hell was he ever in that? I don't know if he was just a scapegoat, because it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, with the ex-husband and the other two aforementioned Haynes guys involved, and I just don't know how he ever came into play. That was something I never understood. So, but yeah, I had been subpoenaed to come in and testify at her trial, and I'm like, or at the trial of him, I'm like, I don't even know the guy. How would I even, contribute to this trial at all? But,
right. So did you have to testify?
No.
Oh.
When I told him I never met the guy, I didn't know who he was, and the only information they had for me would have been on Terry Haynes, and they had called me back and said, "You're right, we don't need you to testify." So.
Yeah, it's really a very compelling story and case.
Yeah.
And the podcast that we're working on is, it's trying to kind of pin down all the different aspects of it, because it touches on so many social justice issues.
Yes.
We talk about women and how women are, treated as objects, and this is a story about that. We talk about the death penalty, because Donald Bull was sentenced to death.
Right.
There's just a lot of nuance in this story, and we feel like it's an important story that needs to be explored.
So, are you under the belief it was Donald Bull then?
Honestly,
was there DNA or?
Honestly, I don't know. And I feel like that's a general consensus.
That it wasn't him?
That people, when they look at all
Daddy.
the evidence and everything,
I
don't know. I don't know if it was him.
Yeah.
It could have been. He wasn't, from everything I've heard, he wasn't, a great person.
Right.
And he did know Donna. He did know her.
Oh, he did?
He did. He was introduced to her. I talked to the woman who introduced them, and they did know each other. And So there was some connection there, and I think, I don't know. Go ahead.
Or did they try to surmise that he tried to have sex with her and she turned him down and that he went into a jealous rage then?
I think that there is some compelling evidence for it to be him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think that, he could have also been scapegoated. It could have gone either way. And that's
yes.
the other thing about this story that, we're looking at.
Yeah, well, with the city and county police department, it wouldn't surprise me. So, there was a long time period. It was a running joke. If you want to murder somebody, do it in Fulton County because they'll never get solved. So,
really,
yeah.
I know there was also some issues with the lead investigator after the conviction, not about that case particularly, but that he had some issues and he ended up getting fired. Do you remember that? Ayers. His last name was Ayers.
Dave Ayers?
Yeah, did you know him?
I did know him. Yes. And I knew that he got fired by, I wasn't living in the town at that time, so I don't know what happened that involves his firing, but I knew it was a disciplinary thing, so, yeah.
Yeah, he had issues.
Yeah.
He probably maybe should have been more than fired, but anyway.
Yeah, they kind of protect their own there, so, which is common at every police department, I believe, so.
Right. So you lived in Canton. How long did you live in Canton?
Well, I moved away in 1984. And then I I moved to Lewiston, Springfield, and then to Pekin. And that's where I was living when I worked at the Elks, which is like 30-minute drive from Canton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. To bartend for friends, and yeah, it was kind of my social life with two small children, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But it was some fun. I got to meet some great people, and yeah.
Is there anyone that you would think that might be helpful for me to talk to?
Yeah, there were some people that were closer to her than I certainly was. One of them being, I don't know if she's in the police reports anywhere, but her name was Iona.
I talked to Iona. I did talk to Iona. Yeah.
Yeah, she was closer to Donna than I was because they were both waitresses.
Yeah.
How about Linda? Her last name was Pigg, Linda Pigg.
Oh, yeah. I have tried to reach her. I left some messages on voicemails that I got.
Yeah. And Terry Haynes. Yeah, he was one of the suspects at the time, so I doubt he would talk to you about it. He might.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know, since he's been cleared and stuff, or he might be very angry about the whole situation. So.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, he's a nice guy. I liked him.
Did he work there? Was he the member?
He was a member, and he was on the Elks board.
Okay.
At one time, so they kind of rotated in and out of that position.
Mhm.
So he's at the time was a young man, but he's kind of he's retired from UPS, and he still lives in the Canton area. So.
Wow. Okay. Where are you from? Are you from
I
Illinois?
was born and raised in Canton, Illinois. Yes.
Oh, okay. You were. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was that like? What was Canton like growing up there when you did?
Well, I had a very strict family, so I didn't get to go out and run with friends like a lot of people did. So I worked at a little family restaurant there on the square once I was 16. And that was fun. It was a quiet town. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and so you couldn't really get away with a lot of shit without your parents finding out.
Yeah.
I had a classmate murdered the year we graduated, 1976, and that's never been solved. His last name was Graham.
Oh.
He was 18. He was at a party. Well, he was at a party, and he came up missing. I think the party was at a lake or, either Canton Lake or one of the coal mine lakes. And nobody saw him for a few days, and then his body turned up, and the police department screwed up evidence right off the bat by pouring gasoline on the maggots to get rid of the maggots.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Do you know who that person was that did that?
No, I don't. I truly don't. Yeah, so then they couldn't really pinpoint the time of death. There was, I think, some question as how he actually died and, what killed him and stuff, but that's an unsolved murder, so.
Oh, interesting.
And I graduated with several doctors' sons in 1976, so there was some rumors that they were involved, or one or more doctors' sons were involved in that. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that case. Interesting.
Yeah. So, But other than that, that was the biggest crime that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, after that, some woman that lived 10 miles outside of town in Cuba, Illinois, was murdered. She was 8 months pregnant with twins, and she was murdered. But I think they convicted the guy that murdered her, so.
Ugh.
So other than that, it's a great area to grow up. I mean, we were like 40 minutes away from a big town of Peoria, Illinois. And you go there to do anything you couldn't do in Canton, Illinois. So,
Give me that card back. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, you're who now?
My name's Anne Marie, and I'm following up. You talked to Jinra yesterday, and I know it was a shock for us to bring up, the painful memory of what happened to Donna and Justine, but I was really hoping, because I know you had said that she was a wonderful person, which is a sense that I'm getting from all the people we've talked to. And I'm just wondering if there is, if you could kind of fill in a story about Donna or Justine to kind of give us a better sense of who she was and why she was so wonderful.
Because she's a very caring person. She loves her daughter. She really cared about her daughter and took care of her. I don't know, she was just, in my eyes, she was just a wonderful person. She worked at the bank. She was, cheerful, hard worker, nice to everybody. I don't know. I think she's just an outstanding person.
Yeah.
She was a good mother, a good person. I just can't believe it happened to her, to be truthful, but it did. And that's a fact. Justine, she was little. I babysat for her. I took care of her. We played with toys, and she smiled and laughed, and
I heard a story from somebody that worked at the daycare center that she worked at that said that she had this hair that would stick up.
Yes.
They tried to like get it to stay down, and it just refused to stay down.
It was like static electricity. Yeah. Yeah, we worked with her hair, but that is very, very true.
And that her personality was kind of similar to that. Like, she had her own mind.
Yeah, oh yeah, she did. Yes, she did. I mean, other than, I don't know, I mean, she was just very enjoyable, very lovable. You know, she was a happy little girl.
Yeah.
You know?
How long did you babysit her?
I don't know. I'm going to say probably maybe a little less than a year or so.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly. It's been 30 years ago.
Right. Do you remember the day when you found out what happened and, like, where you were?
I was at work. And, yeah, it wasn't a very good day.
No.
I mean, I can just tell you that much.
Do you feel like... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, words can't really describe it. I mean, it was just almost horrifying, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say. You know, I know because, I had a hard time believing that, somebody would do that to her. And Justine, Justine was a baby. How could you murder a baby and her mother and then set the house on fire?
Right.
I just can't believe someone would do that.
So I guess the feeling that I'm getting, and tell me if this is accurate, is that Donna was a lovely person. She was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Careful, and she was kind. And it seems like there were like men in her life that just were not, I don't know, I don't want to simplify it by saying not good people, but there were people around her that, men that, I think it made it hard for the police department to do their job because the light of suspicion was on more than one person.
That could be. Because for one thing, when you go through a divorce, that's going to be your first, that's what everybody assumed. But I don't assume that now. I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking. I don't know. After living and stuff, I just can't imagine somebody that knew her that would do that.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, so you don't think it was her husband. You never thought that.
No. I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that it even happened.
I know. It's shocking.
This is her.
Oh, hi. This is Anne Marie. Yeah, so I am a co-producer of the Spoon River Gothic podcast, and I know that you had said, I think you said you lived across the street from Donna's apartment?
Yeah, like my whole life. But I'm only 25, so...
I know, I was looking at your picture on Facebook thinking she probably wasn't around back then.
No.
Do you remember, hearing about the story?
No, that's the crazy thing is I've never heard this story ever. Like, that's why I'm so invested in reading everything. I've never heard about it ever, not once, until it got posted. So then I kind of like, I started asking my grandma questions. I'm like, you know, like, what is this, you know? And because she was around back then, and yeah, she's like, yeah, it was a big ordeal, you know. And like I said, I've never even heard anything about it one time.
We're just really trying to get information about people from Canton, you know, and you have an interesting perspective because you grew up in Canton, you lived across the street from the apartment, and you didn't know anything about it, but then you started asking your grandma about it. I'm curious to know what your grandma said about it.
Yeah, like that's the tough one. She doesn't really want to be brought into it.
I understand. Yeah, totally.
I started asking questions about it to her, you know, and she was around back then, and she's good friends with like a lot of people that you mentioned that, you know, had statements and everything, and so she was like, you know, she gave me her input, and I was like, so I mean, it's kind of interesting, like, and I keep, every time I read something new, I'm like, oh, like, you know, like, this is crazy. So, I mean,
so does she believe that justice was served, that Donald Bull was the perpetrator?
I would say, she did say that, like, he was not very nice to women. I mean, she thought, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, it's probably like likely, you know. I mean,
so what do you think? Like, okay, so you discovered the page, the Spoon River Gothic page, and so, like, what were your thoughts when you started reading about it?
I was in, like, shock, because a lot of the firefighters, I share a child with one of the firefighters' sons. My friend's grandma is Iona, so I know, like, I know her in the story.
I talked to her.
Yeah, so and one of my really, really, like, childhood close friends, that's her grandma. So it's, you know what I mean, like, she's a family friend. So I, you know, yeah. So in my Christ, that's my friend's grandpa. So
that is so interesting. Like, from the perspective of you're younger. When did you move away from Canton?
I just moved away for like a year ago. Like I've lived my whole life.
Right. So what are your thoughts, like, knowing Canton and knowing how things work?
I mean, it's very likely. It's just crazy. I mean, it's just nuts. The way their justice system works, everything. It's crazy.
So you already have that. You already felt that way before you started reading about this.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like I said, I've already. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me by no means. It's just, you know, this is the first time I've heard a story come up like this that, you know, just kind of proves my theory that Canton is corrupt.
Yeah. Well, I guess from my perspective, I don't really know what happened, but I've talked to a lot of people. I'm in the process of going to interview one of the defense lawyers, and, you know, I think for me, the scope of it is the fact that I don't know that he did it. I don't know that he didn't do it. I don't think he got a fair trial, and I think there was corruption. And that's like the farthest stretch I can make at this point.
I mean, same here. Like, and then there goes the theory of the guy saying the keys were left in the mailbox. Like, okay, why would the keys be in the mailbox that long? You know what I mean? Like, that makes no sense.
That's a very good question. I was just reading about that again, and I was having the same question.
Like, because that just hadn't, you know, by that time she would have already gotten the keys from the mailbox, first of all, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just a lot of things that didn't add up to me, you know what I mean? So,
there's more to come. You're going to get more information, and you're going to see a lot of the holes in the, and, you know, I don't know if he put this out yet about the jailhouse snitch.
Yeah, he did. He did put that out there. That's where I read that he said that he got the keys from the mailbox, and I was like, what?
Yeah, his story does not line up, and he was obviously making deals with, you know, trying to.
Oh yeah, trying to get less time or whatever.
Yeah. So and his story doesn't line up to the facts and the crime scene.
Yeah, no, it just didn't make sense to me. That's why I was like, you know, so invested in reading more, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, I never heard anything about it, not once at all until this came out. So it's kind of interesting for me. I know that the house sat empty for a long time, like forever. I've never known anybody to live there. And I think it's for sale right now, too.
Do you think you'll ever move back to Canton?
I mean, Canton's my hometown, but no, no. It's just too much. Canton's gone really downhill. I mean, extremely downhill. You know what I mean? Like, I went to school there my whole life, but that's not for me, you know? Especially stuff like this, you know, can happen to anybody, you know? Like, that's just, yeah.
Right.
So I was just curious of, like, what your guys' connection is to the story, like.
So, one of the executive producer is actually from Canton, and he's always been kind of haunted by the story.
Right.
And for him, it's not really a whodunit, because, I mean, they did arrest somebody. It's more a literary kind of look at the big picture and all the different elements. There's so many layers to this story. Like, you know, there is, of course, did Donnie really do it? There's also the death penalty.
I mean, that kind of, when I read that, I was like, what do you mean he just dropped dead at an age like that? I mean, come on now.
I don't know. I really don't know. Right. So there's that, and I think there'll end up being a lot more questions than answers. But also, I see Canton as kind of like a character of the story. As far as, you know what I mean? Because you live there, so you probably know better than I do. So, I think it's not really a whodunit, but it's looking at all the all of the aspects of the story, shining a light on them. So, you know, it's hopefully going to be a compelling story that people are going to want to listen to.
Yeah, so, I mean, I am extremely invested. So, you know, especially because I'm from there, so I mean, it just kind of triggers like everything even more. Like I said, I'm reading these stories, and they got names in them that people that I know, you know, and that I'm close to. So it's just like it touches close to home for me.
Yeah.
Spoon River Gothic is a production of Lonebird Media in association with CZ Studio. The show is produced by August Olson, editing, directing, and producing by Corey Zimmerman. Audio mastering and engineering by E. Mastered. Research is done by Anne-Marie Cannon, Chelsea Mesa, and me, Jinra Illustrissimo. Spoon River Gothic is written and hosted by Corey Zimmerman. You can follow the show at czstudio.works and read the blog at spoonrivergothic.com. Show some love by leaving us a rating or review on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And stay tuned for the next episode as we dive deeper into the Donald Bull case. Thank you for listening. This is Spoon River Gothic, narrative of a double homicide.